Hello friends, and welcome to another bookish video with me. I'm Heather, and last time I wore this shirt, a student told me I looked like Where's Waldo. Today we're here to wrap up my reading month of May, which was an interesting month. I was coming off the end of the school year. Pause to shift the glasses up. And things get really busy in May. However, I had a decent reading month. So the number of books was down, but the number of pages and the number of good times were up. I also read a ton of romance and romantasy this month, and I was here for it. So instead of going from the lowest rated to the highest rated this month, let's go in order, like the order I read the books in. That sounds fun. We started the month of May with the one, the only, Emily Henry and her book, Happy Place. So I do have a signed copy of Happy Place thanks to a wonderful local bookstore. Shout out to Lemuria that is real good about getting signed copies in. I haven't decided if I'm going to take the signed copy sticker off of this yet or not, because it's kind of like bragging rights, but also it's kind of like an extra sticker on my book. So I don't know. If you haven't heard, or if you are not a romance girly, this is Emily Henry's fourth adult romance book, and we follow Wynne and Harriet. And Wynne and Harriet have broken up. They were engaged, but the problem is none of their friends know that they broke up, and they attend a beach vacation with all of their besties like they do every single summer. And, you know, instead of being honest with their friends about where they're at in life, they decide to fake their relationship the whole week, not ruin the happy vibes, and then tell everybody when they're over. But since this is Emily Henry, we know that we're gonna get banter. We know that we're going to get romance and a little bit of steam. And we also know that we are going to get some life-changing quotes and character exploration. And this book didn't disappoint. The focus on mental health, and it's a book about miscommunication, but the focus on communication is so good that I didn't care about the miscommunication. I actually read this for Olivia at Liv's Library Tea Time Society Book Club, and we had a fantastic chat. Olivia and Rachel from Happy Go Lovely Sleeves led the conversation, and I think a lot of us ended up changing our ratings. So I originally rated this, I believe 4.5, but y'all, I knocked it up to a 5-star. It deserves it 100%. So my ranking of Emily Henry books as of right now, in case you're curious, is People We Meet on Vacation, #1 forever. Love that book, life-changing for me. Beach Read, Happy Place, all of those being 5 stars, and then Book Lovers. Book Lovers wasn't my jam, but it was a lot of people's jams, so good for you if you're a Book Lovers girl or guy. The second book I read was the one, the only, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Loved this book. At first, I didn't know if I was gonna like it, because when you start reading it, you're hit with the like millennial writing style. It doesn't seem to fit the fantasy tone of the book, but give it a chapter or two and you don't care. In case you've been hiding under a rock, Fourth Wing is about our main character, Violet, who, you know, she's not the toughest girl because she's got some like illness issues, and so she was like, you know what, I do still want to help my country, so I'm going to join the scribe quadrant of our military. Her mother is a prestigious commander in the military and is like, Violet, you got to do what I say. You don't get to be a scribe anymore. You got to go join the Dragon Riders. And the thing about the Dragon Rider quadrant is it is very lethal. People are not afraid to kill people as they go through their military training, like squad mates, like killing each other. You gotta learn to fight, you gotta learn to be sneaky and ruthless and vigilant, and not only that, you gotta bond with the dragon, learn to stay on the dragon, and then learn to fight on the dragon. And this is all while navigating friendships and a real hot romance. So I absolutely had the best time at this book. There was one battle scene that was a little bit too long for my taste, but I am not a battle scene enjoyer, a battle scene connoisseur. I find battle scenes really hard to follow, and that's the only thing that knocked this down half a star. So I gave this a 4.5. I absolutely loved Fourth Wing. I'm so happy I ordered it before it got too popular, because I got the beautiful sprayed edges, and I just noticed that I have a bent corner. Oh no. This book was so much fun. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Because Fourth Wing put me in a whole romantasy mood, the next book that I read was Serpent in the Wings of Night, and I read it on my Kindle. It's by Carissa Broadbent. Again, If you've been living under a rock, you may not have heard of Serpent and the Wings of Night, but it is Vampire Hunger Games with an adult spin on it. It is so much fun. Araya, our main protagonist, she is a human living among the vampires. Her father is the vampire king of the Night Court. And there's this big competition between the vampires that happens every century, and the winner gets granted a wish. So Araya has this plot. She knows what she's gonna wish for. She goes into the competition knowing that there's not much hope for her, but on the off chance that she wins, she's ready. Well, because it's romantasy, we also have our main male character, Rain, who is a full-fledged vampire. And these two form an unlikely alliance during the competition. They have to work together, they have to learn to fight together, knowing that at the end of the competition, one of them is still going to have to die. And because they're forming an alliance, other emotions start to play into that too, and they might get a little bit lovey-dovey, who knows? But it's a good time. It's very tense. It is very bloody. It is very dark, and it is adult. So again, if you're a student or if you are a parent of a student, I recommend holding off on this book for a few years. Let's get to like the later years of high school or beyond before we read these books. I absolutely loved Serpent and the Wings of Night, but I didn't love it as much as I loved Fourth Wing, and since I gave Fourth Wing a 4.5, I ended up giving Serpent and the Wings of Night a 4.25. So much fun. And then I read that for the Court of Fables book club with Jordan at Bookish Gym, and it was another really fun chit chat time. The next book I read was an audiobook, and it was Viola Davis's memoir, Finding Me, and it was exquisite. It's one of the best audiobooks, one of the best memoirs, autobiographies I have ever read. I don't read that much nonfiction, and I really need to get better about it. You know, there's something about losing yourself in a fictional story, but sometimes hearing the story of somebody's life is just as impactful, if not more, and Viola Davis went through some things before she is the face that we know and love today. I loved her commentary on what it was like growing up with essentially no money and really hard family times, interesting sibling dynamics, what it took for her to get discovered and eventually end up on film later in life. And then her discussions on acting and theater and the process of becoming a character. And then she also talked about her time that she spent in Mississippi when she was filming The Help. If y'all don't know, I am in Mississippi right now, and I've been to a lot of the places that she discussed, so that was kind of cool as well. It is a very hard book. There are probably trigger warnings you're going to want to look up before going into it, but if you can handle the content, then I highly recommend Finding Me by Viola Davis. It was 5 stars, 100%. The next book I read was also on my Kindle, and it was a romance, and this author was recommended to me by a coworker, and I decided to read the very first book this author wrote. So it is Further to Fall by Catherine Cowles. I'll put a picture of it right here. All of her books are on Kindle Unlimited now. And before I talk about the book, I do want to say I'm going to try one of her newer series, because as writers write and develop their craft, typically their writing improves. All that to say, Further to Fall was not my favorite book I've ever read. It's probably one of the lowest rated books I've read this year. I gave it a 2.5, just to go ahead and say that before I get into the book. But this book follows our two main characters. So we have got Carter, who is our female main character, and we have Austin, who is our male main character. Carter has just moved out to Los Angeles to take a teaching job in a not so great neighborhood. And Austin already is in LA, and he is an established MMA fighter. These two meet, and they don't hit it off at first, but then they start getting along. They become really, really good friends, and their friendship develops into more. There's some miscommunication that happens, and then Austin is real stupid. And in some senses, Carter's real stupid too, but they don't talk for a long time. They do end up getting back together. But this book primarily was Austin being insanely overprotective and Carter getting into the most absurd situations where she was either injured or she was being followed or she was being stalked, or people were breaking into her classroom or breaking into her house. She moved like 17 times in this book. And then obviously all that stuff gives Austin the means to be even more overprotective, but it was excessive. I didn't enjoy it. I thought the writing was clunky. I can't wait to read another book and give her a second chance. That's really all I have to say about that one. And then the last book that I barely finished in May, I finished it the last night of May, is the sequel to Serpent and the Wings of Night, and that is Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. We are again following our main characters, Araya and Rain. The first book, Serpent, left off on a cliffhanger and an ending that made a lot of people shocked, angry, mad, questioning their very existence. But we pick up in book 2. There is so much angst and tension, and I was worried about book 2 after the whole setup of the Kajari, the competition that our characters were in, that we wouldn't have anywhere to go. But no, we had so many more places to go, literally, because we traveled across many settings in this book, but also plot-wise, we had so many places to go. Book 2 is very political. It's also still a romantasy, so we have our characters continuing to learn and discover things about each other, and the ending of it was chef's kiss. And I'm sad that we have to leave Araya and Rain, Araya, however I've been saying it. I'm sad that we have to leave them behind, because even though there's going to be 6 books in this Crowns of Nyaxia series, each 2 books is its own duology that focuses on a different court of vampires in the world. But I'm really excited about who our female main character for the second duology is. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited about it. Cannot wait. We'll be stalking Carissa Broadbent's social media for the announcement of the second duology, the first book in the second duology. So while it wasn't like my most stellar reading month ever, I do feel like I read some chunky books and I read some impactful, hard-hitting books. Sometimes I get this weird air bubble in my throat and it literally makes me like stop talking. So if you're ever like, that cut was really weird, that editing is weird, that's probably what's happening. It's really uncomfortable. I don't know what it is, but I gave Ashes and the Star-Cursed King a whopping 5 stars. So while it was not the most quantifiably great month, it was an extremely great reading month because I read some chunky books. I was in my romantasy phase. I read another Emily Henry, So How Could Things Be Bad When That Is Your Life? I read a very impactful memoir. And you know, sometimes we just gotta throw a book in there that's not amazing so that you can really appreciate how amazing the amazing books are. That was deep, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more bookish content from me, please like this video, comment, and make sure you are subscribed. I do live reading sprints over the summer every single Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Time. And I post 2 videos a week on Tuesday and on Fridays. As always, my social media is linked down below. And for today's video, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in my May TBR? See y'all in the next one.